Welcome to Day 67 on the Trail. We have 4 readings for today, from Acts 15, verse 36 through 16:10, Exodus chapter 40, Proverbs chapter 3, verse 21 through 5:23, and the Wisdom of Solomon chapter 17, verse 1 through 18, verse 4. In our reading from Acts today, Paul wants to return to the churches that they started during their first missionary journey. Barnabas wants to take John Mark, but Paul opposes him based on John Mark's earlier desertion in Pamphylia. However, another reason for their split may be the division over critical questions that occurred at Antioch regarding eating with Gentiles. We read more about this in Galatians chapter 2, beginning in verse 11. But when Cephas, that is Peter, came to Antioch, I opposed him to his face, because he stood self-condemned. For until certain people came from James, he used to eat with the Gentiles. But after they came, he drew back and kept himself separate for fear of the circumcision faction. And the other Jews joined him in this hypocrisy, so that even Barnabas was led astray by their hypocrisy. But when I saw that they were not acting consistently with the truth of the gospel, I said to Cephas before them all, if you, though a Jew, live like a Gentile and not like a Jew, how can you compel the Gentiles to live like Jews? Given the uncertainty surrounding the dating of the letter to the Galatians, we do not know if this encounter between Peter and Paul took place before or after the Jerusalem Council. We also learn that Paul and John Mark eventually reconcile. In 2 Timothy chapter 4, verses 9 through 11, it reads, Do your best to come to me soon. For Demas, in love with this present world, has deserted me and gone to Thessalonica. Crescens has gone to Galatia. Titus to Dalmatia. Only Luke is with me. Get Mark and bring him with you, for he is useful in my ministry. Paul decides to partner with Silas, a Roman citizen. Silas was from the Jerusalem church and one of the delegates who delivered the letter to Antioch following the Jerusalem Council in Acts 15. Together, Paul and Silas went through Syria and Cilicia, visiting and strengthening the churches. During their visit to Derbe and Lystra, Timothy wanted to join them. It is possible that Timothy may have been converted during Paul's first trip to Lystra. Of Timothy, Paul writes in Philippians chapter 2, I have no one like him who will be genuinely concerned for your welfare. All of them are seeking their own interests, not those of Jesus Christ. But Timothy's worth, you know. How like a son with a father he has served with me in the work of the gospel. While the Jerusalem Council ruled that circumcision was not required for the Gentiles, Timothy's father was Greek and his mother Jewish. Therefore, since they would be sharing the message of Jesus with the Jewish people, Paul thought it best for Timothy to be circumcised. Paul's decision to circumcise Timothy seems contrary to Paul's argument in his letter to the Galatians, where Paul seems very adamant about not requiring the Gentiles to be circumcised. However, in the case of Timothy, since Timothy will be sharing the message of Jesus with Jews in the region, Timothy's circumcision would remove a barrier or an obstacle for the Jewish people. Now, while on the surface it seems that Paul is being inconsistent, there is a greater moral category at work here for Paul. As Paul writes in Philippians 2, do nothing from selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility regard others as better than yourselves. Let each of you look not to your own interests, but to the interests of others. While as followers of Jesus we have been set free, our freedom should not become a stumbling block to others. While this has been abused by those outside of the Christian faith in recent years, as followers of Jesus, we should always consider the good of others and move to help them as far as it depends on us and the teachings of Jesus. Now finally, I wanted to make note of the use of we during the second missionary journey. There are 4 passages that have this introduction in Acts 16, 20, 21, and 27. It seems that the author of these sections joins Paul's companions and writes from the perspective of an eyewitness. While there are other options for why we is used in these 4 sections, tradition here holds that the we refers to Luke, who is also mentioned in Colossians, Philemon, and in 2 Timothy as having traveled with Paul. Thank you for joining us today. Until next time, stay on the trail.